What's up, people? Welcome back to Daily Red Devil, and welcome to the latest installment of our In-Topic Focus series, where each episode we deep dive into a different topic surrounding Manchester United. On this week's episode, we will be exploring the question, 5 reasons why the Glazers must sell Manchester United. Now, as always, I do ask that you smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's jump straight on into the show. So the first reason why the Glazers must sell Manchester United is because of the way they've left Old Trafford and Carrington. For anybody who doesn't know, Old Trafford is an absolute mess. It really, really is. If you've been there recently, the toilets are overflowing, the roof's leaking, the facilities are, let's be completely honest, an absolute joke. Like, you probably get better food and drinks offerings in League Two clubs. Honestly, it is so poor. They've spent absolutely no money on it whatsoever. You see them go around once a year with a little tin of paint, and they paint the stadium again, but the actual stadium itself is falling so far behind the rest. When you see people like Tottenham, Manchester City, Arsenal, all of these state-of-the-art stadiums, and we're literally left with this dated stadium. We really are. Now, the key thing I want to get across here is we don't need a new stadium. If they'd have actually spent money every single year renovating it, doing it up, keeping it up with the modern day stadium, we would not need a new one. But at this point, it's in such a bad state that it's going to cost billions to get it back to a level of where it should be. The other alternative option is obviously a new stadium, which some people want, some people don't want. That would cost around £3 billion, which is obviously absolutely crazy. But again, if they'd have spent the money over the last 18 years, if they'd have actually put some love and care into Old Trafford, we would not find ourselves in this position now. We would not have a leaking roof. We would not have toilets overflowing. It's completely unacceptable. It really is, and it's in desperate need of a repair. And this echoes over to Carrington as well. Obviously, Manchester United's training ground. The training facilities are dated. We saw Cristiano Ronaldo coming out saying that the facilities were the same as when he was here, however many years ago. Between his two moments at the club. It's unacceptable. It is. Every other stadium, every other team in world football have state-of-the-art facilities. That's how you get good results on the pitch, isn't it? It's all about what's behind the scenes. It's not just as black and white as bring in a massive marquee signing and we'll suddenly win the Champions League. That's not how it works. It has to be done from behind the scenes. And when you don't have good training facilities, when your women's team don't even have anywhere to train and they can't train in the same facilities, when your women's team don't even have their own stadium, it's completely unacceptable. It really is. The under-21s, they don't have their own stadium. You get where I'm going here. Manchester City, they've got a massive Etihad, and then they've got another little stadium next to it where they have the women's play. It's not just always about the men's game. The way that they've handled the women's side of football is an absolute disgrace as well. And the fact that the women's team can't even train at Carrington with the men's team, and neither can the under-21s, it's completely unacceptable. It really is. And the fact that they haven't even spent any money on new facilities. Ronaldo said he wouldn't even go in the pool, wouldn't he? Because he said he was worried that the tiles would cut his leg or something. It just is a disgrace, isn't it? And it's just not what we need. We need people who are actually willing to put money in and aren't just seeing it as a business. And this takes me nicely onto the second reason why the Glazers must go. The debt has got to be removed. Since the Glazers took over Manchester United 18 years ago, Manchester United have paid £743 million in interest to service the debt that they leveraged against the club. Now, just to note, this isn't paying off the debt. This is just interest on the debt that they took out the club. So for anybody who's unaware, anybody who doesn't know how the Glazers bought the club, they didn't actually use their own money. They went to a bank, they borrowed the money, they leveraged the debt against the club, which has now been banned. You can no longer buy a football club in the same way that the Glazers bought the football club. They didn't use their own money. They used the bank's money. They borrowed it, leveraged it against Manchester United. And over the last 18 years, they've not paid off a penny of the debt. The debt still sits there and rises year on year, as we'll talk about in a minute. But every single year, Manchester United have to pay the interest on that debt. And as I said, since the Glazers have taken over 18 years ago, we have paid £743 million in debt repayments alone, which is absolutely disgusting. It really is. And the other thing which makes it even more worse is the actual debt that we're in now as a club is over £1 billion. Okay? That doesn't include that 743. That's completely separate. So we've paid 743 million in debt repayments, but we still have £1 billion's worth of debt because they've not paid off any of the debt. The debt's still there. The debt from when they bought the club's still there. They buy players on debt. They don't use any of their own money. That's the key thing here. They never put in any of their own money. They borrow money on credit cards, and then Manchester United are the ones who have to pay off the interest, not them themselves. Which, to be honest, is an absolute disgrace, When you see people like Todd Bowley coming into Chelsea and everyone was saying, he's an idiot, he spent 500 million. When have the Glazers ever done that? Yes, maybe he spent it badly, but at least he's actually putting money into the club and investing in the team. Manchester United and the Glazers have put nothing in. They don't put any money into the club whatsoever. They take, and then we pay off the interest. I mean, it's absolutely unacceptable. It really, really is. And that leads me on to the next bit, which is obviously dividends. Over the last 7 years alone, so this is just in the last 7 years in recent times, the Glazers have taken out of the club. So not only have they taken 743 million in debt repayments and put the club in £1 billion worth of debt, they've also taken out 155 million pounds into their own pockets in the last 7 years in the form of dividend payments. So if people don't know what dividends are, it's at the end of a company year. If your business has made profit, you can take a dividend. So instead of reinvesting that profit back into the business or paying off the debt that they've leveraged against the club, they've taken it out for themselves. So in the last 7 years, they've taken out a total of 155 million pounds in dividend payments. So that would have gone directly into their pockets, directly into the Glazers' pockets, and they could have done whatever they wanted with that, which is absolutely disgusting. And I just want to note that we are the only club in the Premier League that does this, and one of the only clubs in Europe that does this. 99.9% of club owners do not take out dividends because it's the club's money. That money should be reinvested back into the team. It should be reinvested into repairing Old Trafford and all of these things. It shouldn't go back into line the owner's pockets. It's absolutely disgusting. It really, really is. But I do just want to note, just to be completely fair on this video, that they have paused the debt repayments. Sorry, not the debt repayments. They have paused the dividends. They haven't taken out any dividends this year, but that doesn't mean that they won't start taking them out again. So at the moment, there hasn't been any dividends taken in 2023. But prior to this, over the last 7 years, they've taken 155 million pounds into their own pocket and paid off none of the debt. The debt is rising every single year. £1 billion we're in. £1 billion of debt, and they're taking out money for themselves, putting it in their pockets, doing whatever the hell they want with it. Absolutely disgraceful. Another thing which is really, really important, moving away from the financial side of things, the fourth reason why the Glazers must sell Manchester United is because for the last 18 years, it has been a jobs for the boys type situation at the club. And if you don't know what I mean by that is, we don't bring in the best in class. We bring in people who are close to the Glazers and who can ultimately be puppets to them. Obviously, Ollie, I love him as a player, and I think he was good as a manager at points, but he would never say a bad word about the Glazers, would he? And you just could see by the end of it that he was just there as kind of a Glazer puppet, to be completely honest with you. You know, people like Darren Fletcher, as much as I like Darren Fletcher, like, he's never had a job in football before other than being a player, and now he's the technical director. People like John Murter, Ed Woodward, they've all come from banking and business backgrounds. They're not football experts. They're business, financial experts, you know? They've come in purely with the job of making more money, not about success on the pitch. And that's why I think a lot of our signings have gone badly. You know, you look at people like Alexis Sanchez, all of these marquee signings, Di Maria, people who come in with these massive wages, these massive transfer fees, and you can tell that they don't want to be at the club. They're literally just coming in for the paycheck. And that is simply because of the people who are running the football club. You know, they'll be told by the Glazers, who's going to sell the most shirts? Okay, let's bring in Cristiano Ronaldo again. You know, etc., etc. We need the best in class. We need a director of football who's at the top of the game. I don't know, maybe someone like Paul Mitchell, as just a name off the top of my head. We don't have that. We don't have a proper director of football. I think John Murter's the director of football, and we've seen people say, like, oh, Murter madness, but come on, like, even this transfer window, we have overpaid on players, in my opinion. And I just think that John Murter is not a good enough director of football. Darren Fletcher, as much as I like him, and I'm sure he's a great person to have around the team, is he, would a club like Real Madrid have John Murter and Darren Fletcher as their technical and directors of football? No, they wouldn't. Would Bayern Munich? Probably not. Would Arsenal? No. Do you get where I'm going with this? Like, we need the best in class, and I don't think we have the best in class under the Glazers, because the primary goal of the Glazers regime is to make money, is to take as much money out as they can. And if they brought in somebody who was a bit more knowing of that, they probably would question them. But they've got these people, they've surrounded themselves with yes men, ultimately, who just do whatever they say. And that's the fourth reason why the Glazers must sell Manchester United. We need a fresh start. We need a clear out. We need to start fresh from the very beginning. And just before we end the video, the fifth one, which I think is actually the most important out of all of these, obviously they're all important, but this one has its own significance, is getting rid of them, I think, will reunite the fan base again. If anybody's unaware, the Glazers' tactic over the last 18 years has been a conquer and divide model. They've wanted to divide the fan base, because if we're divided, if we're all arguing against each other, then our overall message of getting the Glazers out is weakened. And that's the thing that you guys have to remember, okay? They want us to be divided. They want us to argue amongst ourselves. They want us to disagree with stuff as a fan base, because that makes our voice weaker and that makes them more powerful. So that, to me, is the most important thing here, because if they go, hopefully it will reunite the fan base again, and it will ultimately set Erik ten Hag up with the best possible chance of succeeding on the pitch, because what happens behind the scenes for me is just as important as what happens on the pitch. It all resonates well. You know, if it's a happy workplace, then they do well. And the way I see it is the way the club's being running behind the scenes isn't setting Erik ten Hag up for the best possible chance of succeeding. In my opinion, it's setting him up to fail. We've seen great managers like Mourinho come in, all of these people who have won countless trophies. They've lasted a couple of seasons and then they go. You know, we just have this conveyor belt of managers. And it needs to stop. It really, really does. And I know people will say, you've spent all this money, but that's just such a black and white answer to look at this argument. And that's why I wanted to do this video, because I wanted to get these 5 reasons across of why, and for hopefully people who are a little bit unaware of all of these things can actually really understand the extent of what they've done. The thing I want to be really, really clear about as well is we never needed super wealth. We didn't, because as I've just said, in the last 18 years, we've had 743 million taken out in debt repayments. And we're now in 1 billion's worth of debt, and they've taken out 155 in dividends, right? So over the last 18 years, the Glazers have taken out over £2 billion from the club. 2 billion. I mean, imagine if we had £2 billion more over the last 18 years. What would that be? It would be an extra about 100 to 120 million per year to spend on transfers, to spend on new staff members, to spend on Carrington, to spend on Old Trafford. We would have been fine. We could have been self-efficient, and we could have had this whole fan-owned model that some people want. Like, we definitely could have done that. We really, really could have. But where we find ourselves now, the Glazers have to go. We need to clear the debt, and we need to start a fresh, clean slate. As always, I do look forward to seeing you guys' opinions on this topic. I know it's quite a sensitive one, and it's one that I get quite emotional about and quite worked up about. So I hope you have found this video useful. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you're feeling about this in the comment section below. This has been Daily Red Devil, and this has been 5 reasons why the Glazers must sell Manchester United. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Lots of love. Peace out.